One of the most eloquent tributes to John Coltrane was a short poem written by a young lady named Deborah D'Amico in 1975. Titled, "For John Coltrane," it goes, "They should have shown you the sun, so he could know his rival. You might have made the world go mellow, turned empty tables golden with your sound. We are lucky, I suppose, they let you blow at all. Their love is gold that turns to dollars. Yours streams from your mouth, as free as air, as rare as free. Still I can say to children I don't have yet, once upon a time a Coltrane walked the earth, and hope that they grow ears." A birthday salute goes to trombonist and bandleader Will Bradley, born Wilbur Schwichtenberg in Newton, New Jersey, on July 12, 1912. Bradley grew up musically in New York, starting with Red Nichols in 1928, and then primarily as a studio musician, taking time out to play in the big band of Ray Noble from 1935 to 36, and then forming a big band with drummer Ray McKinley in 1939, and remaining on the road until the band broke up in 1942. During those 3 years, Bradley and the band specialized with boogie-woogie arrangements, which were popular hits. We'll hear the band's theme song, "Strange Cargo," followed by their big hit, "Beat Me Daddy, 8 to the Bar," and finally a small group within the band known as Will Bradley's Six Texas Hot Dogs with Basin Street Boogie. Ray McKinley does the vocals. For our jazz flashback of the week, let's return to July 12, 1939, in a New York recording session at RCA Victor with Earl Father Hines and his big band, and a Hines original, "Piano Man," arranged by Bud Johnson. It's 21 minutes past 9 o'clock. Stay tuned for Jazz Tonight. If you listen to FM 91 on a cable system, please let us know. Phone us at area code 912-238-0911 or write FM 91 at 409 East Liberty Street, Savannah, Georgia 31401, and tell us the cable system you listen to FM 91 on and where it is located. We will be happy to send you an official FM 91 Composer's Calendar for 1986. That number once more is area code 912-238-0911. Savannah area weather forecast: tonight fair with a low in the mid-70s. Southwesterly winds near 5 miles an hour. Tomorrow mostly sunny and hot with a high again around the century mark. That's 100 degrees, folks, with westerly winds near 10 miles per hour. Good evening. It's now 32 minutes past 9 o'clock. I'm your host, Larry Morrissey, and welcome to Jazz Tonight, starting a little bit later this evening so that we could run through an extended version of Between the Grooves. We opened this evening's Jazz Tonight with a performance called Open Wide, a composition by leader and arranger Don Ellis and his 21-piece big band at the Montreux Jazz Festival of 1977. Quite a dynamic opening for what I hope you will find an exciting and enjoyable show this evening, dedicated to festival time in Europe, music on the continent from years gone by. We'll go from 1977 to the city of eternal light, Paris. A young 23-year-old Miles Davis and his quintet performing on May 8, 1949 at the Paris Jazz Festival. We'll hear a Coleman Hawkins tune, Riptide, and follow that with co-leader of the quintet, pianist Tad Dameron and his own Good Bait, along with Miles on trumpet, James Moody on tenor sax, Barney Spieler on bass, and the great Kenny Clark on drums. The Miles Davis Quintet.
Chaque pays, chaque époque
From May of 1949, the Miles Davis Tad Dameron Quintet, we heard Riptide and Good Bait. Let's go to Montreux, July the 24th, 1977. The tune is Nightcrawler, composed and arranged by Bob James, and featuring James on the Fender Rhodes, Hubert Laws on flute, Stan Getz, tenor sax, Bobby Humphrey flute, Eric Gale, Steve Kahn on guitars, Alfonso Johnson bass, Billy Cobham drums, Ralph McDonald percussion. Nightcrawler. Montreux 77, Bob James, Nightcrawler. It's 10 o'clock. You're listening to WSVH Savannah, listener-supported public radio. Today's programming is funded in part by the Georgia Council for the Arts through appropriations from the Georgia General Assembly and the National Endowment for the Arts. Savannah area weather forecast calls for tonight fair with a low in the mid-70s. Tomorrow mostly sunny and hot with a high around 100. The current temperature here at the WSVH studios at 10 o'clock, 86 degrees. From July the 24th, 1977 at Montreux, let's back up 10 or 11 days to the evenings of July 13th and 14th. First we'll hear bop giant and originator Dizzy Gillespie with his own composition Here 'Tis in a Dizzy Gillespie jam, accompanied by John Faddis also on trumpet, Milt Jackson on vibes, Monty Alexander on piano, Ray Brown on bass, and Jimmy Smith on drums. From July 1977, a Dizzy Gillespie jam with Here 'Tis, featuring Dizzy and John Faddis on trumpets, Milt Jackson on vibes, Monty Alexander piano, Ray Brown bass, and Jimmy Smith on drums. From that same Jazz Fest at Montreux in 77, let's hear a Count Basie jam, a long improvisation simply titled Freeport Jump, the Count on piano, Ray Brown on bass, Jimmy Smith on drums, Roy Eldridge on trumpet, Benny Carter on alto sax, Zoot Sims on tenor, and Vic Dickinson and Al Gray on trombones. Freeport Jump. A Count Basie jam from Montreux 77. Vic Dickinson, Al Gray on the trombone, Zoot Sims on tenor, Benny Carter alto, Roy Eldridge on trumpet, and the Count on piano. Let's go to Montreux 81. Saxophonist David Sanborn with his own composition Hideaway, accompanied by Neil Larson on keyboards, Robin Ford guitar, Mike Minieri vibes, Marcus Miller bass, Ricky Lawson on drums, and Lenny Castro on percussion. Then we'll follow that with keyboardist Neil Larson, his own composition Casino Lights, along with Buzz Fighton on guitar, Art Rodriguez on drums, Lenny Castro percussion, again Mike Minieri on vibes, Robin Ford on guitar, Marcus Miller on bass. From Montreux in 1981, David Sanborn with Hideaway, and Neil Larson and Buzz Fighton with Casino Lights. Let's go to the Antibes Jazz Festival in 1960, July the 13th to be exact. Charlie Mingus and his group, consisting of Mingus on bass, Ted Curson on trumpet, Eric Dolphy on alto sax, Booker Irvin on tenor, Danny Richmond on drums, guest artist Bud Powell on the piano, with I'll Remember April. Charles Mingus, guest pianist Bud Powell, and I'll Remember April from Antibes in 1960. Let's go back to Montreux in 77 with the Atlantic Records All-Stars in concert with a Claus Dollinger original Jadoo. Featured soloists are Herbie Mann on flute, Dollinger on tenor sax, Dick Morrissey on alto, Jim Mullen on guitar, and Sonny Fortune on saxophone as well. Jadoo. From Montreux 77, Herbie Mann leads a group of Atlantic recording artists with Claus Dollinger's Jadoo. It's now 2 minutes past 11 o'clock. You're listening to WSVH Savannah, listener-supported public radio. There will be a meeting of the Board of Directors of Georgia Public Radio, Inc. on Wednesday, July the 16th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Mall Branch Library. This meeting is open to the public, and you are cordially invited to attend. Savannah area weather forecast is calling for fair tonight with a low in the mid-70s. Tomorrow mostly sunny and hot with a high around 100. The temperature here at the WSVH studios at 11 o'clock, 85 degrees. Let's go back to Antibes, 1966, and hear the Duke Ellington Orchestra at that jazz festival with a play on Night Train. The Duke is titled The Old Circus Train Turnaround Blues. Duke Ellington at Antibes. Great Duke Ellington and his orchestra featuring Johnny Hodges on alto sax with the Old Circus Train Turnaround Blues, recorded live at Antibes, 1966. Let's go to the North Sea Jazz Festival at The Hague in Holland. July 13th, 1980. Quartet consisting of Oscar Peterson on piano, Toots Thielemann on harmonica, Joe Pass guitar, and Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen on bass. Let's hear You Stepped Out of a Dream and Like Someone in Love. Oscar Peterson. Harmonica player Toots Thielemann, pianist Oscar Peterson, guitarist Joe Pass, and bassist Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen. At the North Sea Jazz Festival in 1980, we heard You Stepped Out of a Dream and Like Someone in Love. Let's go to Montreux in 1979, the same date, July the 12th. A little while ago we heard Count Basie in a jam. Let's hear the Count in front of his big band. We'll hear three numbers: a Neil Hefti chart, Splanky, Ernie Wilkins, Basie, and Michel Legrand's Watch What Happens. Count Basie and the big band. Count Basie at Montreux in 1979, Splanky, Basie, and Watch What Happens. Let's hear now from Miss Ella Fitzgerald at Montreux in 75. She's accompanied by Tommy Flanagan on piano, Keter Betts on bass, and Bobby Durham on drums. We'll hear Teach Me Tonight, Antonio Carlos Jobim's Wave, and two Cole Porter tunes, It's All Right With Me and Let's Do It. Ella Fitzgerald. Ella at Montreux, 75. It's now 1 minute past midnight. You're listening to WSVH Savannah, listener-supported public radio. The weather forecast calls for fair tonight with a low in the mid-70s. Tomorrow mostly sunny and hot with a high around 100. The temperature here at the WSVH studios at midnight remains 85 degrees. As is customary at this time of night, let's hear Thelonious Monk's Round About Midnight, performed here by guitarist Joe Pass, who's accompanied by bassist Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen from the North Sea Jazz Festival in July of 1979. We'll hear Round About Midnight and How Deep is the Ocean. Joe Pass. From the North Sea Jazz Festival in July of 1979, guitarist Joe Pass, bassist Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen, with Round About Midnight and How Deep is the Ocean. Let's remain at North Sea, but move on to July of 1981 with the Concord Jazz All-Stars, consisting of Al Cohn and Scott Hamilton on tenors, Cal Collins guitar, Warren Vichet cornet, Dave McKenna piano, Bob Mays bass, and Jake Hanna drums. We'll hear Can't We Be Friends, Emily, and Out of Nowhere. The Concord All-Stars at the North Sea Jazz Festival with Can't We Be Friends, Emily, and Out of Nowhere. Let's return to Montreux. July the 25th, 1977. We'll hear Infant Eyes, a composition by Wayne Shorter. This features Stan Getz on tenor sax, Bob James at the keyboard on acoustic piano, Gordon Johnson on bass, and Peter Erskine on drums. Montreux 77, Stan Getz on tenor, Bob James at the acoustic piano, Infant Eyes. We're now 10.5 minutes away from 1 in the morning and the end of another Jazz Tonight. Let's hear one more jam session from Montreux 75. Features Benny Carter on alto, Zoot Sims on tenor, Roy Eldridge and Clark Terry on trumpets, Joe Pass guitar, Tommy Flanagan piano, Keeter Betts on bass, Bobby Durham on drums, with If I Had You. Live, Montreux, 1975. We heard Benny Carter, Roy Eldridge, Zoot Sims, Clark Terry, Joe Pass, Tommy Flanagan, Keeter Betts, and Bobby Durham with If I Had You. We're now at 1.5 minutes past 1 in the morning. Heavy thunderstorms and heavy rain here in downtown Savannah. At 11:30, the Georgia radar weather indicated heavy thunder showers, at that time 25 miles northwest of Savannah, and another about 30 miles south of Waycross, movement to the east at 22 miles per hour. And it's obvious that some of those thunder showers are over Savannah at this time. Other showers and thunderstorms are over central Georgia from Vidalia to north of Savannah and extend south into the Okefenokee Swamp into northeastern Florida. Since it's a little on the wet side outside, let's extend Jazz Tonight for a couple of more numbers. We'll go back to guitarist Joe Pass and Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen at the North Sea Jazz Festival, The Hague, Holland, July of 1979. We'll hear Stella by Starlight and I Can't Get Started. Joe Pass.